John Collins, on the other hand.
Oh, I was waiting for this one. I've been doing all the John Collins slander on this podcast, I feel, over the last year. So I am very, very happy to finally be joined by my buddy Bryan on this one. So I'm going to just sit back and I'm going to hear all the slander that I have provided over the past year, and I'm going to relay it all to you.
First game on Monday night, Sixers-Hawks. The Sixers...
I'll just leave, and then you can take over this for the next 35 minutes, right?
Well, I have some questions for you about this, because this is going to be really interesting to see how Game 4 plays out. The Sixers, switch Ben Simmons onto Trae Young in Game 2, and has been just a night and day difference in terms of what Trae Young's been able to produce in those two games.
Yep.
Yeah, so obvious that you wonder why didn't they do it in Game 1. The bench has come alive. We saw Shake Milton in Game 2, Furkan Korkmaz last night. So they're actually getting production from other members beyond their big three. The two questions I have for you, Mort. Mm-hmm. One, Danny Green leaves very early last night with a calf strain. He is going to be out for 2 to 3 weeks at least, according to Shams Charania of The Athletic. So Korkmaz replaced him in the starting lineup. If you're Philly, do you stick with Korkmaz as the Danny Green replacement, or do you go with someone else?
Yeah, I think you need the shooting. I really think you need the shooting. And Korkmaz, while he's not a defender, he's a shooter. He's a guy who can really get the ball into the basket. And I think that's crucial to have the more floor spacing, because that opens up driving lanes for Ben. It gives Joel that edge inside. It gives Joe Harris more room to operate, and he has been on a tear just getting to the basket, so I want to optimize that for him. I like Shake, but he has been a little bit inconsistent of late. I know he's been very, very good in this particular series, but I don't know if I'm at that point where I fully rely on him as a starter to provide that. And you're already like shaking your head. Yeah. So I'm going Korkmaz. I don't know what that name is tripping me up today on this one, because I just think you need that immediately. And then I think they have enough firepower coming off the bench. If we expect that Shake is going to remain the consistent scorer he's been. Mm-hmm. Also, Tyrese Maxey, I know he hasn't shot the ball well, but I like his offensive upside. Also, I don't think you can take 25 total minutes into like this small sample size and go, oh, well, he's just been bad. No, I'll give Tyrese Maxey minutes. My question back to you is, you were so super stoked at George Hill, like when he was acquired. When will the real George Hill show up in the series?
Defensively, he's been
I know,
good, but offensively, they're gonna need more from him. It's been weird. It's like you get after Game 1, Shake Milton came to work out, I think the night before Game 2, and then he explodes. And then after Game 2, Korkmaz worked out after the game, and now he explodes in Game 3. So I think we just need the report of which reserve worked out either after Game 3 or before Game 4. Was it George Hill or was it Tyrese Maxey? Because that's who's going to blow up unexpectedly. I'm with you, though, on starting Korkmaz. I originally thought, like, as soon as Danny went down, I'm like, oh, okay, well, now they can put Matisse in the starting lineup, and you can have Ben on Trae and Matisse on Bogdan. But then I'm realizing, one, you're giving Trae a place to hide. You can put him on Matisse, and he can hide defensively. And two, if, God forbid, one of those guys gets into foul trouble, as Matisse fouled out in 17 minutes last night, all of a sudden you're like out of backup options. I mean, Danny was not playing particularly well in this series, but he was at least a body who you could throw, especially at Bogdanović.
Right.
So I think Korkmaz, I think he will keep starting for the spacing reasons, because like Trae can't hide on him, and they were going at Trae specifically last night in a way they hadn't in the first two games. I do wonder if Bogdanović, if Korkmaz is defending Bogdanović, if that is just like absolute green light takeover. Trae Young is being smothered by Ben Simmons, so Bogdanović is going to be like, all right, I'm dropping 35 tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, now we can finally talk about him, right?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what they need at this point. I think, Trae has been still effective, but just not as effective as he was in Game 1. I think they need like a Bogdanović takeover game.
They might get it.
Yeah.
He's good. And this is what I was kind of talking about with the whole 16-player thing.
Yes.
He's a playoff guy.
Yeah.
And like I tweeted last night. Oh God. See, I've had so many different days. It was last night, the game, right? Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
That I didn't understand why there weren't more teams that aggressively went after Bogdanović.
Or why the Kings didn't match his very reasonable offer sheet.
And of course the Bucks as well, but like 20 teams should have gone after Bogdanović.
Yeah.
I think there were a lot of skepticism around him because he played with the Kings and he got apologies Kings fans, but like he got the stink of the Kings on him.
Mm-hmm.
And people were like, nah, like we don't really dare do that. And then he just like reminded everyone, hey, look, I dominated overseas. Right. I'm that good. I'm that guy.
I think that's the problem is you don't know how he's going to translate to the playoff because he played for the Kings. So you never got to see him in the playoffs.
Exactly.
But I mean, you could look at his skill set and realize, oh, this guy makes sense as a playoff player. John Collins, on the other hand.
Oh, I was waiting for this one. I've been doing all the John Collins slander on this podcast, I feel, over the last year. So I am very, very happy to finally be joined by my buddy Bryan on this one. So I'm going to just sit back and I'm going to hear all the slander that I have provided over the past year. And I'm going to relay it all to you.
I don't want to slander him because if you look at his, like, if you just looked at the box score, you'd be like, oh, yeah, he's averaging 17 and 7. He's shooting 62% overall, 43 from 3.
Yeah, that's what I've been saying. So come on, bring it, Big Papa.
But he just is getting roasted by Tobias Harris defensively. And it like Trae is just setting up so much. He is not creating these shots by himself. Like a lot of his efficiency is because he's just dunking home lobs.
Right.
Like,
and Bryan, is he creating off the dribble?
No, he's not.
Is he playmaking for others?
No. He has
I'm getting
3
a
total
semi.
assists.
Keep talking, Bryan.
Yeah, I don't want to call him rich man's Lauri Markkanen because that's not fair to him. I think he is a much better player than Markkanen, but this does keep hearkening back to this discussion of, you know, I don't want to call him a traditional power forward because he can hit the 3 ball pretty well.
Well, traditional over the past 10 years.
Yeah, but would I pay John Collins a max contract this offseason, which I'm sure some team is at least going to consider? Absolutely hell no. And I think this series, if nothing else, regardless of how it goes moving forward for the Hawks, this should be enlightening to them because it can at least confirm, like, all right, this is our first taste of playoff basketball, and John Collins just does not fit with our best version of ourselves.
And you know why as well? When you have 2 guys on the court who needs to be set up consistently in Capella and Collins, that means you lose out on versatility. That means that you have 2 guys you can very easily take out of the game. The starting power forward moving forward, I'm putting that in quotation marks, should be, when he's healthy, next year, DeAndre Hunter. That is their guy moving forward. Yes. I was going over this with a couple of guys who are really into both contracts and player evaluations and all that. And like, I made the point that just to piggyback off your Markkanen point, like just in terms of what Markkanen provides, I would not pay him more than around $7.5 million per year. Obviously, he's going to get more because the NBA is all about upside and hype and whatnot. But he's just not a guy you should pay significantly more than that at all. And Collins, I think, should top out at around 12 to 14 million. And people are going to be like, are you crazy? He scored over 20 points a year ago, 10 plus rebounds. Like, he's a guy who can hit 40% from the free, high efficiency scoring. Yeah, that's all true. But in order to do all that, he needs to have an elite playmaker alongside him. So do you want to pay him as someone who is capable of doing these things on his own, which he's not, Or do you want to pay him accordingly and then let his value increase by having him play alongside an elite playmaker? Like, he can go to Dallas and play with Luka, in which case he would be a 2010 guy again. That's fine. But if Luka goes down, that stat line is going to revert into something that's not pretty. He is completely reliant upon others. So is Markkanen. So is a lot of these, like Marvin Bagley as well. These guys should not be attractive on the restricted free agency market. I know Bagley has a year to go, but you catch my drift there.
Yes.
Like, if you are fully reliant upon others to be productive, your value should go all the way down. Like, we know that in the playoffs, self-creation and creation for others is absolute key offensively. So if you can't do that, either one of them, how can you justify giving those guys like 15, 20, 25 max dollars? You can't. There's no way you can do that. So if a team throws out the max for John Collins, oh boy, Brian, I mean, then you and I are going to have a very long episode.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah, I mean, this isn't to say anything about how the rest of the series, like, much like the Nuggets, the Hawks, one, they're playing with house money anyway, because they're just getting out of the first round, especially where they were halfway through the season. This is a great building block season for them. Yeah. And they don't have, Collins is their big decision to make. We'll touch on that again in the Bye Felicia. But I'm with you. DeAndre Hunter is a modern day four. He's perfect for this team. Not having him, he's out for the series because of a meniscus injury, which sucks for them, because he would be so crucial for this team right now. They're also without Cam Reddish. If you run out next year, Trae Young, Bogdanović, Cam Reddish, DeAndre Hunter, Clint Capella,
with Onyeka Okongwu as your backup big,
and Gallinari and Kevin Huerter off the bench as well. That is a hell of a rotation. Like, the Hawks are really building something here, so I don't want this to be misconstrued as like me taking a victory lap, because they could still come back and win this series. They're only up 2. The Sixers are only up 2-1. But
that's not what you told me before we started recording.
I mean, I think the Sixers are going to win this series. Okay. But the Hawks still could, hypothetically. But either way,
okay, fair enough.
Yeah. Either way, I wouldn't be bummed if I'm a Hawks fan. Like, you want to go as far as you can, but like, you're not going to win the title this year. But you've got some really good pieces in place, and now you're getting clarity about John Collins, which is great. The other question I have for the Hawks before we get to the Olshey stuff, so because Hunter is out, they've started Solomon Hill for 3 straight games. Solomon Hill has shot 2 of 11 from the field, has scored 7 total points, he has as many personal fouls as he does points in this series. They went with Tony Snell as the starter in the second half last night. He is 0 for 3 in this series with 0 points, but 3 personal fouls. So those options have not been great. If you are Nate McMillan, Mort, what do you do ahead of Game 4? Do you stick with the same starting lineup? Or do you move one of Gallo, Lou Williams, or Kevin Huerter into the starting lineup?
I definitely get Kevin Huerter in there. Look, Solomon Hill played over, I think, I looked this up the other day. Yeah, over 1,500 minutes in the regular season. Given just how deep the Hawks were on the wing and the guard spots coming into the season, that's about 1,500 minutes more than Solomon Hill should have played at all this year.
Yeah, to be fair, injuries played a big part of that. Like,
that's
Hunter
what I'm saying.
A lot of time. Yeah. Oh, okay.
That's what I'm saying. Like, because of injuries, this is where we are.
Yeah.
Right. But that does not mean it's a great option. Like, he was a guy who was signed to just, in case of emergency, you can use him in a little bit. Yeah, we were looking at an emergency, but over 71 games in the regular season, he shot 35.9% from the field.
Yeah.
He is not a shot maker. This is once again a PJ Tucker situation, only the difference here being he's not as good a defender. Like, what does he give you, Brian? If anything.
Nothing. He gives the Sixers a place to hide Seth Curry.
Yes. And defensively, Like, he's not much of a, like, he's decent. He can switch around and all that, but like, he's not great.
No.
Like, he's not gonna set the world on fire defensively. Like, you can go at him and you can get buckets on him. Like, Tobias Harris against Solomon Hill, like, go Tobias. Like,
and Ben last night. We saw aggressive Ben coming out in the second half last night.
Right.
It was a night and day. Like, he just refused to even look at the basket in the first half, and all of a sudden Doc calls him out at halftime. He's like, all right, I'll assert my force on the series. So, yeah, I'm with you, though. I would definitely start Kevin Huerter. Similar to, what I'm saying with Solomon Hill gives them a place to hide Curry, and like with Young, and if you could start Matisse Thybulle or Korkmaz, start Korkmaz so Young can't hide. Start Kevin Huerter so Curry can't hide.
Right.
Like, I know Nate McMillan has said he likes Huerter coming off the bench, but I don't care. Like, you still have Gallo and Lou Williams to anchor your bench units, and also it's the goddamn playoffs. You shouldn't be playing 10 men when when your options are Solomon Hill and Tony Snell. Just shorten your rotation.
Yes.
And play your best players more. Because
that was going to be my next point, because I want them to play Gallo more. I want them to play Kevin Huerter more. Like, Gallo is not even playing 25 minutes per game. Up the minutes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, by the way, can we get a trade between Gallo and Dwight's Mohawks?
Oh, God. No, Dwight's been rocking that all year.
I love it. It looks like French fries.
It's so bad. Yeah, I mean, personnel-wise, the Hawks are at a deficit because they don't have Hunter in this series. But it does feel like Doc has at least pushed more of the right buttons than Nate has, and I'm really curious to see, especially since Doc's going to have to adjust his starting lineup because of the Danny Green injury, how Nate McMillan responds, how they figure out. I mean, they have no answer for Joel Embiid whatsoever. They threw like triple teams at him. He had 8 assists. Like, he had a Jokic game, but he was also incredible on defense last night. So, Embiid is just an impossible riddle for them to solve. Yep. But if Tobias keeps playing as well as he has, and Ben Simmons plays like he did in the second half last night, I don't know. I mean, it's similar to the Wizards series where you just don't have the defensive forwards to guard these guys, and they do have the defensive personnel to guard you. So, I think I said Sixers in 7 before. I would lean Sixers in 6 now. I think we do get the Bogdanović blow up game. It could happen in game 4, but I don't know. It feels like Philly's up minus 650 right now. Hawks are plus 480. So odds makers after last night's game really seem to get on board with Philly.
Did Seth Curry listen to us, by the way?
Because he's actually shooting in the high volume finally. Yeah, it's been awesome. He has been great.
This is what I've been saying, though. Like, we could all have had this Seth Curry all year long.
Yeah. Yeah, shooting
just
60%
more shots
from 3.
away from Danny.
Yeah. Yeah.